Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing fine. So in the last session we started to talk about what books and burial tell us. And today we're going to talk about the second part of this chapter, where we're going to start off words to describe people, silent sentinels, the story of megaliths. What exactly are megaliths? Finding out about social differences. How do we know that there existed some kind of differences in the society? And where some burial spots meant something to the people. There were special spots where some special kind of people were buried. How do we get to know about them? What was the ritual that they followed? If there was caste system that existed in one way or the other in the society. So please stay tuned. We also happen to cover a lot of map questions. I'll talk about the locations in the map. So let's get started. Okay, so in the last class, I told you that cattle, horses, and also the chariots, which is basically a vehicle that we use, a two-wheeler that we yoke the horses to, and we use it for the battlefield. And then whatever wealth those people used to get, they used to split it between the different leaders, among the leaders, the priests, the common people. And also some part of it was also used to perform various sacrifices. That's called yajnas. We also call yajnas as yagyas. As you know, we offer a lot of things to the god nowadays, and back then god Agni was worshipped. So it's a ritual sacrifice that we used to have back then. Also, we didn't have a fixed army. It was generally the brave and the skillful warriors who were selected right from the community itself. So they didn't have a regular army. So there was assembly of people, and some of them, the brave people, used to take care of them. So no kingdom, nothing of that sort. Life was quite sorted back then. Well, anyway, let's talk about the next topic, that's words to describe the people. If you want to talk about me, how do I look, how do I speak, how do I express, as of now, you're just in a position to hear me, right? I hope I'm audible. But there is curiosity about where do I belong to, more about my family, more about my dressing sense. You might be curious. What kind of community do I belong to? What is my culture? What are my traditions? Everyone is curious to know each other. So why not about the past? So Rig Veda, the oldest Vedas, out of the old Vedas, we've got the Rig Veda, that's the oldest one. It talks a lot about the people. And it says we've got two different kind of people back then. Very important positions. The first important position, as I talked about in the last session, they were the priests who were basically called Brahmins, who used to perform most of the ceremonies, the rituals. And the second group was Rajas. These are not the one that you think of now. They didn't have a fixed territory. They never used to tease the people, overexploit them, nothing. No palaces, no army. Not even hereditary system that they had there. And if I talk of the rest of the people, the crowd, the community as a whole, there are words to describe them, the community. So in the community, we call it Jana, Jana. This is the one that we use nowadays also. And the other one is wish. This wish comes from another word, Vaishya. We'll talk about it later. But either you call the people who lived back then, either we refer to them as wish or we call them as Jana. Okay? So I'm going to talk about them in the later sections, in the later chapters, and we'll see what we can learn all about Jana or wish. But we generally use them as preface to a lot of words. For example, like Jana is, in general, it means the tribe, community, who have shared ancestrals. And this Jana it's headed by a Raja, as I told you, this is the king. So there were different groups related to the Jana. For example, you could have Puru Jana or Puru Vish. You could also have Yadu Jana or Yadu Vish, right? And also Bharta Jana or Bharta Vish. So there were several references to them as to where do you wish to fix them. Different kinds of Janas. So let's move on to the next topic. We know what is a Jana, we know what's Vish. Two types of people, Brahmins who perform rituals, the Rajas, not the hereditary seats, and also different types, the names given to different types, Janas or Vish. Now came the Aryans. Yes. Now we are going to talk of Aryans. So these people were quite opposite to the Sas or the Sayus. Now I'll tell you something very important about the Sas or the Sayus. It comes from a Sanskrit word which means dasa. We find the mention of it in Rig Veda. Dasa basically means servant of God or a devotee. But you'll be surprised to know that these Dasas or the Sayus, who were the opponents of Aryans, these people who composed a lot of hymns in Vedas, these Dasas, they were not allowed to perform sacrifices, and they spoke different languages. And later these people, they changed their origin, they changed their name, and they were called as dasis or slaves. Do you see how things evolved? One who surrendered themselves to the god were not allowed to do all the religious sacrifices, to perform them. Later, dasas changed their form, the term changed, and we started to call them as slaves or dasis. And often these slaves, they were captured during the war. And they were treated as a property. You know more about the slaves, I think. They were captured in the war by the kings or the wealthy people, and they were treated as the property of their owners. And at this time, when we talk of Rig Vedas, there were other things also that happened in India, that took place in this section here of the subcontinent. That's the northwestern section. So let's get to know what was happening back then, since we talked a lot about Dasas, Janas, Vish, tribe. And this northwestern section, you'll find these illustrations that you see here. They are known as Megaliths. It's a type of a large stone that is used to construct a structure. Especially it was used in the recent past, that you call it Neolithic period. New Age. So these megaliths, they're huge structures that you see. They were used in prehistoric time. They are prehistory monuments. Big stones. So the practice of having these big stones, it started around 3,000 years ago. And nowadays we find it somewhere in the south. It's still, we have these structures there in Deccan. Some part of Jammu and Kashmir also we find it. Here in Deccan, in Jammu and Kashmir, this part still we have these megaliths. And even in northeastern part here. So these megaliths that I was talking of, they were not only found on the surface of Earth, but however, archaeologists have also found the megaliths like this. They can be seen on the surface, and some of them in this form, that's called cyst. And this is exactly a part that is called potholes. I'm going to talk and discuss this in the later section, but we find them like this in the burial, underground, where they used to bury the dead bodies. So these you can see it's more in circular form, a large single stone right in the mid, and rest of them they're standing here. The other stones they're standing right here. So this indicates that they're, it's just a symbol that they use, that a particular family member was buried here. And then later on, these potholes, they were used to bury the members of the same family in here. So most of these sites, burials, they have some common features, but most of them, we also have explored that at some of the sites we find the people have been buried with special kind of pots, quite distinctive. They are red and black ware, which means people believed in the life after death. Some of them, they've even been buried with iron. So even find skeletals of horses with them, with their bodies, the skeletal or different types of ornaments which they could use in the future, in the life after death. So this gives us an idea that there might have been some sort of social differences in the society. Otherwise, they would have buried a dead body with the same set of objects. But definitely one skeletal had some gold, beads, bangles, or shells with it. This is this kind of shell that you call it as conch shells. Whereas the other one just had a pot with it. So this suggests us and the archaeologists that there have been some differences in the status that existed back then. The rich people were buried in a quite different order as compared to the poor. So whatever we explored from their burial, we came to know that in Harappan sites also, different people were buried in a different format and in a different way. So that's all for today's session. In case you liked the session, please hit the subscribe button, comment below, and also like. I'll see you soon. Till we meet next, please take care. Thank you.